are the same at the level of the soul, which is our humanity, and at the level of the mind. But this is where the difference comes. The difference comes in the content of our minds. I've already stated, I think I will do a video on the human system very soon. Don't worry, wait for it. But at the level of mental content, the programs that are written into the mind to make the mind function will differ. Now, what are these things that constitute the programs that are written into our mind? We call it just one word: environment. Now, the environment creates the difference. But then what is the environment? When we talk about the environment generally, we are talking about the world. Okay, the world, the systems of the world. And what are these systems? Media, parents, adults around the child, the community, etc. These constitute the human environment at one level. Then there is the supra environment, which I call the mental environment, which is the way the human being interprets all of these things. That is the media, the uncles, the aunts, the mother, the father, and events in the family and in the community. These are the supramental environments. They are also different. This is why two people from the same parent, even twins, born of the same parent the same day, grow in the same family, they will have two different traits. Now, this is not genetics. This is simply mental response to activities around each of these people. What are we talking about? Now, before this time, we had the Darwinian principle. We had the what they call the central dogma in medical science, which simply states that the human being is a product of his hereditary. So the human traits are products of somebody's biology. I'm sure you have heard of eugenics, how attempts were made by certain scientists to ensure that they have better human beings in society by what they call breeding out undesirable traits in human beings, traits like poverty, diseases, and criminality. Their understanding then was that these traits are hereditary, they are gene specific. They tried to tie it to Plato when he wrote his Republic, that simply said that certain people were supposed to be encouraged to breed, while some people were not allowed. They should be discouraged, in his book called The Republic. But you see what? All of these things were statements that simply indicated that the human beings were prisoners, were victims of their genetics. But in the 90s, if you have been following the videos of Dr. Bruce Lipton, and if you have had access to his book, The Biology of Belief, you will understand him saying that it is totally wrong. Science has proven that the human gene is conditioned by the environment. And of course, if you were to look at the Nigerian situation, for instance, you will notice that many Nigerians who never did very well back here at home, when they leave Nigeria for foreign lands, they do extremely well. So you see, it is the environment that has impacted positively upon them, hence they are different. Beautiful environment. But you see, there are also Nigerians who are right here in Nigeria, in the same environment that didn't allow those people to progress. They are doing fantastically well. Same environment, just the same way as you have twins from the same parents, raised in the same house from day 1 to 50 till they became adults, but they are different. It's about response. Because what has been said is that the greatest of all environment, my friend, is not the physical things. It's not the sight, the hearing, the smell, the taste, and the feeling you get. It's about your perception of what you taste, see, hear, and feel. Your perception. It is how you respond to things. Your response is important. Now, this is it. The only way to change your realities is to change your environment. Right? Good. Now, when you change your environment, you either change your environment physically by moving physically away from where you are to another place, by avoiding certain people, or You stay where you are if you cannot change your environment in the physical sense, but change your mental environment, change your apparatus of perception, change the way you interpret things. Then some people have said, I think Wayne Dyer once said, he said, see life symbolically. Okay, when you look at things that would have hurt you and you said, oh, it was meant to make me stronger. That is how you begin to think. When you begin to think positively and you remove the negative interpretations to things, you become different. It is like what the mystics will say about the lotus flower. The lotus plant grows in murky and muddy water. But when the flower shoots forth, it is so clean, completely distinct from its environment. One would have wondered, if the environment of the lotus flower is such a murky and muddy one, why would the flower be so clean and pristine? It is the way of life. It is, you can pick the dirt of your environment and convert them to manure for your growth. Have you ever smelled feces from the fruits, the yam, the pineapple that you eat? You don't. Why? Because the plant itself has a mechanism that converts the filth of the earth into something that is beautiful. That is why we say life is beautiful. When we say life is beautiful, we are not saying that everything that happens is beautiful. We are simply saying that life has the capacity to turn ugliness to beauty, because ugliness is the other side, is the raw material with which beauty is constructed. There is nothing that is an end in itself until the human being who is the receptor and judge considers it an end in itself. When we talk about resonance, we are simply saying that there is that human capacity to become one with what it measures itself with. It is about identity. I can't say this enough. Okay, your identity is actually a product of your affinity. What you connect with becomes your identity. It is a law that exists far back, from way back. If you look at the Bible, possibly you have a Bible background, let's look at it that way. In the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 24, 25, 26, it is very clearly stated there. In verse 24, the Lord God said, let everything on earth bring forth according to their kind. All right? We are talking about the law of resonance now, about affinity. It has been said to you several times, maybe you picked it, maybe you have not picked it, that you do not get what you pray for. What you actually get is what you are. Life responds to you according to what you have become. Hence, I did a video some time ago. What have you become? You get it? So, life responds to you according to how you are. It's not a matter of how well you pray, how much you pray, how loudly you pray, how violently you pray. It makes no difference. That is why you will pray for the rest of your life combating enemies, and the enemies never end. Meanwhile, in that same Bible, you are told that if a human being's ways please God, that same God whom this person has pleased by their ways, we make their enemies to be at peace with them. If that is so, how come you have spent 10, 15, 5, 10, 20, 30 years fighting the enemies and it never ends? Which means every time you are fighting the enemy, your ways are not pleasing unto God. Because a man whose ways please God obviously does not have enemies, because if your enemies are at peace with you, they are no longer your enemies. That's number one. Now, the law simply states that everything brings forth according to its kind. A human being who construes themselves as enemies have enemies. But a human being who construes themselves as friends, as lovers, my friend, they don't have enemies. Now, let every breed be forth according to its kind. Therefore, all the animals, all the plants produce according to what they are. You will see a mango tree, an orange tree, a pear tree in the same garden, in the same soil, receiving the same nourishment. They will grow. Their leaves, their barks, everything about them will be distinct from one another. And when they produce flowers, distinct flowers. When they produce fruit, distinct fruit. When they produce seed, distinct seed. Why? Because their system makes it possible. Now, what we are simply saying again is that the system defines you. What system do you have? That system we are talking about now is the mental environment of the individual. That's what defines you. So don't bother yourself going outside, struggling hard, learning books, trying to become a person of influence. What you need to do is focus on self-redefinition from the inside. Every battle begins from the inside. Every war is won from the inside. That is how it goes. So let's go further. In verse 25, 26, we have evidence that God created things and that all these things started producing according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. According to their kind, it was good. Then in verse 27, see, all the animals produce according to their kind, which is according to their biological environment, according to their genetic makeup. Remember this, creation happened when God imposed or inserted his will into space, and that space became a creation. You don't have time, you have matter, you have laws into place. It is the law that God put into place that generated creation. I'm sure you know that already. Good. And one of the law is the law of affinity. That before you can create, you have to become what you want to create so that your creation can become a product of yours. This is why I tried to establish in the first video that you must first of all influence yourself before you can influence others. It's tough, but you have to speak the truth to yourself and then you can grow along that path. So God implanted his will, his intention, his thoughts into space, and creation happened. Good. Now he changed the environment that was before him. By what environment? By his own mental, internal environment. That's how he created it, right? Fantastic. Then, having created all species of creation, he placed a law that they must produce. In other words, they must create according to their kind. They must create according to what they have become. Yes, there is something that we need to understand here. God decided that man should be made in their own image and likeness. Good. Now, in verse 27, it was said, God made man in his own image and likeness did he make him. Male and female created he them. Which means the concept of humanity is an admixture of genders. So by the language of the Bible, King James, we are both man. I am man, you are a man, irrespective of your gender. But let's use humanity to help us in our current time of correctness or, that kind of thing. So what is that thing that one will consider the image of God? Some have said it has to do with the character of God, and I agree with them. Because while he says, let everything bring forth according to its kind, if humans, you and I, are offshoots of divinity, God in this context, the highest one, just as God could look at his environment and felt the need for a change, so also can you look at your environment and feel the need for a change. And for you to change an environment the way God did, you will have to, first of all, have an idea, have a will, an intention, and then insert it into the environment and you change it. That is what creation is all about.